It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gate.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by our wonderful partners at CoolBet. When you sign up for an account, use the promo code 2GUYS. It's very simple. It can't get any more basic than this. It's the number 2, and it is the word guys. And when you sign up, you get a little bonus, and you can get ready to start betting on the upcoming National Hockey League season as we get set to kind of wrap up an off season. It's August 31st. It's almost September, which means rookie camps open up and rookie tournaments and preseason. Boys, we've got through the off season and managed to keep her going pretty good. A lot of content. Franchise 32 certainly helped, but here we are in episode 251. Very excited.
Adrian, I thought you were going to talk.
I was waiting for you.
Don't be afraid to go first.
You've been moving around. You're all fired up and all happy before.
It's
unleash the cast.
Yeah, man. There's been a lot. I feel like it's been a pretty busy, interesting offseason. Like a lot happening around the league. A lot of stuff going on. Some big news happening with some Canadian teams. There's been a lot of good stuff. But I'm ready to get back into it, fellas. Like I'm ready to have some games to break down and some teams to break down with how things actually work out, and it'll be fun. So I'm ready to get this thing going here, boys.
Yeah, not far away. Gager, it helped when everything was pushed back by a couple weeks, right? We're giving free agency middle of July.
Yeah, I really like the fact that a lot of people will check their internet connection when they're listening to this to make sure what's going on with the cast. They can't get me for that dead air there. That's good. But yeah, I mean, I think what happened is just because everything got pushed, right? So it just put everything, boom, we had the draft, free agency.
Yeah.
The fact that the Oilers played so long into the season is another thing. Like most people in Edmonton, I think, are like, it's already hockey season. It's it's like, oh my gosh, like I gotta get ready for this instead of pining for it in the doldrums of August. So it's exciting. Lots of things happened in the off season, I think, because they had to so quickly. But I think we're going to get to most of those today with some of the things we're talking about.
Yeah, we certainly are. It's a little bit of a different look. I mean, Cass is in the office. I'm in the old basement here. Gager, you're still in your office, but you've turned around a little bit. The lighting is way better. Cass, your lighting is way better today, too. We're really hitting our stride here for the upcoming season. I like it. Gager, who's fighting in that picture behind you? What's going on there? First, I thought it was flowers, but it's not flowers. What is that?
That's Iron Man and Dr. Doom going at it.
Oh,
special.
Okay.
My son has.
I thought it was Iron Man. I didn't recognize Dr. Doom.
Yeah, my son has found a love of vintage stores lately. And,
perfect.
And so he's going there buying some things, and he brought in this massive. I think it's a anniversary double issue special of the comic book of the cover. So, and he just came in here with, Dad, I got you something. So obviously,
wow, that's nice.
He left my office till I started crying afterwards, right? and then hook it up. And so whenever I'm feeling bad, I just have a glance over there. I've switched it around. I was tired of looking so angelic in previous episodes.
That's true.
I looked too godly, and so now
I'm going with other side.
Yeah,
I'm going.
Yeah, you got the angel on one side, the devil on the other. There, Cass. Yeah.
Cass is
well, that's. But I spent most of the morning crying too, so it's good to go. I'm happy to get talking with you guys and move on from. Well, Cass, you're what, your second youngest went to kindergarten today too? Yeah, your middle one.
First, she hasn't got her. It's around noon, I think. Her kindergarten orientation. So I'll be fine today because I don't think she goes on Friday. But her first full day is on Monday.
That's gonna be tough,
Wednesday of next week, rather. Wednesday of next week, because Monday's a holiday, and I'm gonna be a mess that day.
It's been a sloppy morning around the Nielsen household. We'll just leave it at that for now. But I will say this: I want to ask you guys this. And next week on the Nielsen show, Eric and I and Uke are doing a lunchbox draft. And I just thought we'd kick off the episode here with everybody getting back to school. What was your favorite item to get in your lunchbox for lunch when you were going to school? Was there one thing that you always got super pumped about? Cash, you're the youngest, so you would have been in school most recently. Not recently, but like the last one to get out of high school. But what was your go-to?
Fruit roll-ups were one of the big ones. Like if you got like a fruit roll-up or Gushers, those two kind of like on this, like if you got a special treat in there, those were good. And then cheese strings, I think those still are a big thing, but those were always a big thing too. Like cheese strings were pretty sweet. I always liked those. But on the healthy side,
it's funny you say that. I had a cheese string right before we started this episode.
Yeah, well, you're for my kids too. They're solid. And then mandarin oranges were always great too.
Oh, man, that's a big get. That was a big get. Yeah, for sure. Gager, what about you? Growing up on the mean streets of Kitsilano.
Well, yeah, the mean streets weren't kind to Gage in the lunch department. I'll tell you that. My mom was too much of a hippie. I'd get some sort of tabbouleh and couscous, and it was just awful. I was trying to wheel and deal and trade stuff my whole elementary career and stay out of knife fights, Dusty. It was crazy. But the thing that I liked most was, if I could, was the Laura Secord pudding cups. Those are what all the rich kids had, and I loved those things. A custard, I think the custard one was my favorite, but once in a while my mom would splurge and throw one of those in my lunch, but that was it.
I had highly unhealthy lunches growing up as a child. My parents were very young. They're in their mid-20s and they're on a farm. They had no time, so it was like Pop-Tarts and cookies, and it was glorious. I'll tell you this. I was very popular when it came to trade time at school, but I wouldn't want to trade a lot of my shit because I had the stuff everybody wanted. It was like having 4 first-round picks and everybody else is offering you a bunch of 3rd and 4ths. You're not going to do it. You're going to hang on to your assets. So that was a tough spot to be in.
Really funny because I took over the lunch preparation after a few years, and the first time I remember, I made my son a huge peanut butter and honey sandwich for like the first day. And my wife like, "What are you doing? You're going to kill somebody." And I was like, "Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that."
Yeah, no peanuts. No peanuts at school now. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's crazy. I love peanut butter too. All right, let's get into this offseason recap. We said we were going to kind of do a full recap of the offseason here to wrap up August, and then as we move towards September, start previewing things. We're going to get some preseason action certainly to discuss. So let's kind of whip through here. We're going to hit on best offseason move, worst offseason move, most improved team, the team that disappointed the most, and then before we're going to get to your way too early Stanley Cup predictions, kind of post offseason before we even see these teams, and right before the regular season starts, we'll have a chance to maybe adjust unless we want to let it ride. So, Cass, best move of the offseason. What are you going with, buddy?
Best move of the offseason was trading Tkachuk for Huberdeau and Uyghur to save the Calgary Flames franchise currently. I think that was the best move. It comes off of what may have been the worst move from a season or two ago of hiring Sutter to a long-term contract, which is, I think, why those two guys wanted out. But you swing a trade, you bring in 2 good players to make your team better and to get where you want to be. So huge salvage by the Calgary Flames. To me, that was the best move of the offseason to salvage what could have been an absolute disaster.
Gager, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I have to agree with Cass. That's
so that was just that amazing a move, hey? Like that's an all-timer there is what we're saying, essentially.
I'll go at it from a different angle. I don't think they get Kadri too if they don't show that they are a competitive team. So by doing the Huberdeau Uyghur pick and that talented prospect, I don't think Kadri goes there. So what they did paid dividends later by being able to add player of his caliber, Kadri said it, I think I read yesterday or the day before, he's retooling and ready to go at it again and win another one. And why not? Calgary's right in that window.
I'm going to kind of tie my answer into Calgary here as well. And while it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, it was a good get. I didn't see it coming. That's Johnny Gaudreau going to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Like, who in the world would have thought that Columbus was going to land Johnny Gaudreau? And I don't know how good they are with Johnny Gaudreau there. I didn't think Columbus was going to be in the spot to go out and convince Johnny Gaudreau to come in and sign with the Blue Jackets. Everybody's looking at Philly. Everybody's looking at New Jersey. Maybe the Islanders are going to get in on him. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh no, Johnny Gaudreau signing with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the Blue Jackets came from off the radar to getting one of, if not the biggest fish in unrestricted free agency. So like I said, I don't know if it makes them... it doesn't make them a contender. I don't know if it makes them a legit playoff team that maybe the odd team will have to worry about. But as far as like just looking at one team signing one guy, I think that one stands out because it surprised me so much. I don't know. Cass, what do you think of the Blue Jackets? They bring in Johnny Gaudreau. They got Patrick Laine. They managed to keep him around for a few years. I don't know if they've got a ton outside of that, but I thought that was very impressive that they managed to bring in Johnny Gaudreau.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a big win for them based on not having Johnny Gaudreau. I mean they're a better team because of it. A lot of teams didn't see that coming, so it was I think a good pickup for them. Surprised a lot of people. Surprised me. They're a better team. Are they a playoff team? Maybe. Are they going to win a cup?
No, not happening. Johnny Gaudreau got his money, though. And he'll get put in every great opportunity he was in Columbus, just like he was in Calgary, as far as the way that team is structured. So no shortage of opportunity for him to continue to put up numbers. All right, what about the worst move of the offseason? Seems like a kind of a consensus there that Calgary going out and managing to keep Huberdeau certainly changes that. And then they had the pick to move away Monahan, which allowed them to bring in Kadri. So some fine work there, that's for sure. But what about the worst move of the offseason? Was there anything that you guys really didn't like? Cash, your nod right now there's one that really stands out for you here.
There is.
Let me see if we're the same. Okay.
Maybe the same. I'm gonna go the Chicago Blackhawks trading Kirby Dach.
Okay, to Kirby Dach. All right.
The Kirby Dach trade, to me, it's like, okay, you're saying you're in a rebuild and you have a young player that's a very, very, very good player, and you're trading him away. Like, unless he asks for a trade, which isn't something that we've heard, what are you doing? Like, I understand if you need to move on from Patrick Kane at some point. I understand from Taves at some point. Like, I get that if you're going rebuild, but you just, in the past 2 years, look at what you've traded away. And the Kirby Dach one to me was just like a huge, like, what are you doing with this? Like, that's not a rebuilding move. That's a, moving on from your future move. Just didn't like it. I didn't like it. Now, there may be some people or a lot of people that disagree and say that there was worse moves made by teams, but to me, it's just kind of accumulation. I mean, you can probably guess where I'm going for my most disappointing team based on how I feel about that. But yeah, I just think it was just a bad move, and I think it's gonna, may take a year or two to really reflect at how much that was, but not a good move by Chicago, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're 2 for 2 here, Cass. I got the on the F1.
Man, you
board.
love operating in boards, hey? I love it. That's great.
I love it. It's great. Well, it's cutting down. I'm going green, Dusty. I'm going.
You're saving the environment.
Yeah. So I had Chicago letting their future go. Like, it was terrible to see those two guys leave that franchise, being the future cornerstones of it. It's crazy to me.
Made no sense.
We all know what they're trying to do here, right? They're trying to get us best possible position to get Bedard. But if I was a Chicago Blackhawks fan, I'd be very upset, because there was an opportunity, I think, to retool and go at it again with two guys of that caliber. And now you're going to be waiting another, I would say 7 to 10 years before they're competitive again.
I'm not sure there's any team in any sport ever that has started a rebuild by trading all of their good young pieces. Like, it just doesn't make not only like, so they trade DeBrincat, they trade Dach, they let Strome walk, and he's in his mid-20s, and I mean, that's a guy you keep around if you're working on putting some pieces in place. None of it makes sense, especially in a lottery system where even if you finish dead last, you only have a 25% chance of ending up with the pick anyway, man. It's insane to me. Absolutely insane. I just don't get it. I don't understand it for the life of me. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know how there could be any other as far as worst moves go, bigger disappointments maybe, because there's some teams that didn't do anything that I think could probably lead to some of these bigger disappointments. But as far as worst moves go, man, the Chicago Blackhawks took the cake. Now, this next category is an interesting one because, some teams had best moves, but overall, which team improved the most, in your opinion? Maybe it was a series of smaller moves that ended up getting it done. Cass, let's throw it to you once again, buddy. Who's the most improved team, in your opinion?
Yeah, most improved team. You're letting me lead off here. I would say is the Ottawa Senators, and that's not just a homer pick for me. I think overall the steps that they took. You bring in Giroux, you move out a bad contract in Matt Murray, you bring in Talbot, who's going to not be fantastic, but he's going to stabilize that goalie position. I think that's big. DeBrincat as well. You bring him in. On the flip side of what Chicago was doing, you get DeBrincat. So you just get two really good players. I think you have a fairly solid core of defensemen, not unbelievable, but you have good young pieces in Tkachuk and in Stützle. And all of a sudden, the Ottawa Senators have a capable team, which I think will be a playoff team. Or at the least, I think they're going to be challenging for a wild card. Like they're going to be wild card, maybe pushing for a playoff spot here, potentially. So I think they went from being a bottom of the barrel team to being a team that has a chance to actually surprise some people in a really good way this year. I think if I just look at overall which team was the most improved, not Calgary. Calgary had the best move, but they didn't get. It's not like they got miles better. Some other teams did some good things, but I think to me it's the Ottawa Senators that did the most to improve their team, took the biggest step forward with the moves they made this year.
Gage, you can find somebody else, or you're going to agree with Ottawa on this one?
No, this is a homer pick. I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers. And the reason why is I think if we were all to jump in the DeLorean with the flex capacitor and say, gosh, we're going to probably lose Kane here, Kulak, that's still up in the air. I don't know. And I think that, let's face the Oilers were 8 wins away from winning a Stanley Cup, right? And had some of their superstars were hurt. Just to retool, keep the same core together, I think is one of the best things that you've seen from the Oilers in the offseason that they've done in quite a few years. I know we're still looking for something probably on defense, but to keep that same core together and that room the same way, and everyone, the old adage, pulling on the same chain, that's huge. That's massive. And hopefully they can advance and get a few more wins in the playoffs.
The other team I'll throw in there that I thought did some decent work. It's easy to improve when you weren't very good in the first place, which is kind of like with Ottawa. Ottawa made some significant adds, but I like what the Detroit Red Wings did. They've already gotten a Jelkovic. They went out and got Ville Husso, which certainly helps. Your goaltending now, a 1-2 punch that has a ton of upside, I think. And then on top of that, they've got these young guys already bringing along the Siders, the Raymonds. I mean, all these young guys they've already got, and they went out and brought in Andrew Kopp, David Perron, Ben Sherratt on the blue line, just some veteran guys who have been there, have gone on playoff runs and have had some success. I think Steve Yzerman's doing it right. He's not going out and trading for Patrick Bloody Kane. He's bringing in Perron for a couple of years. He's bringing in Andrew Kopp for a bit. With those guys should help their young guys continue to develop because it allows them to still be the go-to guys on the team. And then all of a sudden, Lucas Raymond's not sitting here going, well, all my ice time is going to David Perron, because that's not the way it's going to be, right? You're not going out and bringing in that. So I think this was the perfect type of offseason for Detroit to have to continue to allow their young guys to take the next step, but support them with veterans where, I would be very surprised if Detroit's one of the worst teams in the National Hockey League next year. I don't know if they make the playoffs, but I think they get, they're not out of it come March. You're like, hey, look at Detroit. If they're going to run, they might be able to get in. I think it could be something along those lines, especially with a D-man like Seider and some of the other pieces they put in place there. So I think they're very improved. I think when you look at points over year over year points improvement, I think Detroit might be the one that could probably make the most improvement there. But if you're watching on the live stream, feel free to comment. Just hit us up in the Say Something section. And, of course, if you are watching on Twitter right now, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Just search Two Guys and a Goalie on all of your podcasting platforms. Most disappointing off-season. Who are you guys going with on this one? Gage, or you go first this time?
Well, I just This was a tough one, but I look at Lehner with the Golden Knights being the biggest disappointment for Vegas. Just losing your number one goaltender for the season like that, and it just a lot of things actually went into that as well. Just there was no other goalies available. They're scrambling. It's just a big kick in the nuts before the season even starts that you lose your number one guy like that. So to me, that would be if I'm GM of the Knights, that's the biggest disappointment for me in the offseason, losing your number one guy.
Cass, who are you going with?
Well, I mean, Chicago to me again is the obvious pick here, trying to tank. I think they did a horrible job. If I had to pick another team, I'm going to go a little bit a team I was a little disappointed by, and I think and I understand why it was approached this way. I'm going to say a team I think, and we'll see what they do, and we'll see what Joe Sakic does retooling. But I was actually pretty disappointed in Colorado's offseason.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, I just look and I think so players out. So you have you keep Rantanen, McKinnon, Landeskog, and Makar. You sign Nikushkin to a long-term deal, maybe a little bit more expensive. I don't know if they're going to really like that one in a couple of years. But I look at their center depth now, and unless Newhook takes a really, really big step forward, with Kadri on the way out, and not that they could have afforded to keep him, but I wonder about. I just look at the Colorado Avalanche, and you win a cup, so you accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. Great. Kemper's on his way out. I don't know if they did enough to fill the gaps in some of the guys that left. So, still going to have a strong defense, still going to be a good team. But I don't know if they they needed to get better. They just won a Stanley Cup. But I think they got a little bit worse. And I wouldn't have them, or I don't, we're going to talk about cup predictions. I don't have them winning the cup. I have them being a good team, being a playoff team, but I think they took a step back. And again, it's not like they were the most disappointing to me. I think Chicago was that clear cut 100%. But in terms of good teams, I think I was the most disappointed by them. Maybe I would say the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I don't care if they're disappointing.
I'm going to stick in the Canadian market. I'm going to go to the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, and we'll see how it ends up playing out for the Winnipeg Jets. Maybe in the end, all this drama goes away. But they went out. They wanted Barry Trotz. They couldn't even deliver the coach that they wanted. Nothing against Rick Bowness, who's going to, probably do a pretty solid job there. But you know how disappointing it is when everybody in the world knows that this is your guy, and he doesn't go anywhere else. He just doesn't come to you, which kind of stings a little bit. So I think for the Winnipeg Jets, you've got that, and then you've got this whole discussion. Mark Scheifele at the end of the year had some very interesting comments. He's still a Jet. They look at how they're going to rework that dressing room because Blake Wheeler, as a leader on the team, has kind of torn the room, and that's still happening there. So, like, the Winnipeg Jets didn't really accomplish anything this offseason. I know people in Winnipeg, with Huss and Winnipeg Sports Talk, they're sitting around waiting for at least Trotz to be delivered. And then you're looking at free agency, you're looking at maybe some trades, and just nothing. So for a Winnipeg team that, had so many encouraging signs for so many years, the moment Paul Maurice bailed on them, it has just gone to shit since then. So I don't know what to expect from them. They were a team that I really liked for the last few years. I think this offseason was extremely disappointing. And I don't have very high expectations for them moving forward, even though they've got an excellent goaltender. They've got a ton of talent. They got pretty decent blue line. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on them, but very disappointing offseason.
Wait till Scheifele goes to the Live Tour. Like, that's going to really.
Well played, Gacher. Well played. All right, so these are the way too early Stanley Cup Finals predictions. Okay, we're going to take a team from the East, take a team from the West, and we are reserving the right to change these picks prior to the regular season, and we'll probably reserve the right to change them if we want midway through the season as well, and then right before the playoffs start. But it's always a fun discussion to have. Cass, give it to us. Who's coming out of the East? Who's coming out of the West?
You're coming at me hot. Start with the East. I'm going to actually take the same team I took last year. I think they made a couple moves. They're a good team. They'll have better, healthy goaltending. Hopefully, I'm going to take the Carolina Hurricanes.
Back to the Hurricanes.
East, back to the Hurricanes. Now, I think a big part of this is going to be Brind'Amour learning as a coach and growing as a coach. And the reason I say that is I think, he's the type of coach that he's going to squeeze during the regular season. And I think they ran out of gas in the playoffs. I think the Carolina Hurricanes ran out of gas in the playoffs and, ran up against a good team as well. But I think, some let's call it energy management during the season from his approach for Brind'Amour would go a long way. So a little bit of a caveat with that, but I am taking the Carolina Hurricanes in the East. In the West, I'm gonna go early on homer pick here, straight up homer pick. And I do actually, and I think there's some justification behind it, though. I do think the Edmonton Oilers are a playoff contender and they're a Stanley Cup contender. So I'm going to go full homer because people will love that. I'm going to pick the Edmonton Oilers. I think, and I don't know who. I think Ken Holland is able to trade for a defenseman at some point during the season. He's able to make something work, probably on the right side, probably a more physical guy. Think the Josh Manson type that Colorado brought in that made a big difference for them down the stretch in the playoffs. So I don't know who yet, but I think the Oilers will be able to get it done, and I think they go to the Stanley Cup, which would be amazing. So that's my pick in the West right now.
All right, Gager, give it to us, buddy. So he's got the Oilers going up against the Hurricanes, a rematch of 2006, and a rematch of course, the Facebook United Cup from during the lockout. Gager, who are you going to go with?
Well, why doesn't Brind'Amour just play, too? Like, if they get into the Cup. Like, see that guy with his shirt off still? It's ridiculous. But, no, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay, wow.
Just with they that same core again is back, and I think they do get past the Rangers if Sidney Crosby doesn't get hurt in that playoff series. There's just too much experience. There was talk about last year that being their kind of swan song, but they've stuck together. I think there will be some renewed vigor and wanting to win one more in Pittsburgh. And Tristan Jarry is a great goalie. I think if he can stay healthy and be that makes them even more competitive. And unfortunately, I'm not going to go the homer route. I'm going back to the Avs coming out of the West, Dusty. I think that they probably find some way to solidify that centerman role by getting Patrick Kane at the deadline or something like that, and just go for it again. The Cale Makar is going to probably win his second Norris Trophy. There's just no answer for him to defend against him on the back end yet. We'll see how the season goes, and like you said, they still have Rantanen and McKinnon and Landeskog. That's an awesome core group. And I just think unless Edmonton can get that kind of stud or someone emerges that's in that conversation for a Norris Trophy or a Conn Smythe at come playoff time, going up against the Avs is a tough ask.
We'll get to the West in a second. I'm going to go out to the East. We're going to have three different teams coming out of the East, and none of them are Tampa, and none of them are Florida, because I'm going to go with Shesterkin and the New York Rangers. I'm going to go with the New York Rangers. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rangers, man. I think they got to get a piece on the blue line. Like first of all, they got Fox and Trouba, but the rest of that blue line, mind you, there's some young guys there that could very much take another step this year. So maybe their blue line holds up. The fact that they've already been mentioned as one of the teams that would be interested in Patrick Kane, and let's be honest, Patrick Kane to New York City, Madison Square Garden, New York Rangers with Panarin, and right now I imagine in the playoffs Patrick Kane is playing for the New York Rangers. Like I just think that's going to happen, which I'm kind of including in why I'm making them my pick. I think they've got the goaltending to do it. I think they've got the elite defensemen to do it as well, and I really like that forward group, man. Plus, they've been in the postseason a couple times with some expectations. They disappointed. They've got the Capo Cacos and the Lafrenieres who should be able to. These are high-end elite prospects who are still finding their way. If one of those guys pops this year, that could certainly change things for them as well. So I'm going to go with the New York Rangers out of the East, which is great because the East, I mean, I could sit here and make a case for Florida. I could sit here and make a case for Tampa. And you guys both made very good cases for the teams you had. So, there's 5 teams I look at in the East and go, yeah, any one of these teams can win. The West is a completely different story to me. I don't know. I don't know. Like, is the West is weaker than the East, but is the West weak overall? Because I don't view the Oilers as a juggernaut, but I view them as a very good team. But I also look at probably only Colorado's a team that I think is better than them in the West. So I'm kind of torn on both of your guys' picks because part of me wants to take the Oilers because Colorado I don't think is as strong as they were last year. But then I look at Colorado's blue line, and it's insane. I mean, they didn't even have Samuel Girard in the playoffs last year, and that's another big piece for them as well. Their goaltending, meh, but they won with meh goaltending last year, in my opinion. So this is a tough one for me. But I will side with the defending champs for now. Let's see how this season plays out. But I'll go Colorado, New York in a Stanley Cup final. But if it's not Colorado or Edmonton, man, I don't know any of these other teams that really I find that's sexy. Yeah,
Minnesota's they're not a sexy pick, but I think they're a team that could surprise some people. I think yeah, they're gonna be pretty good.
Did they replace Fiala? Did they bring in anybody else offensively there? I feel like they didn't. No, they didn't. But I think Kaprizov and Zuccarello are pretty good.
Yeah, I think Fiala had a unicorn season. I mean, he makes LA better,
I do think LA overcommitted to him for sure. But I mean, that was still a really good season. I don't know if anybody else steps up, fills that role. So
the West is going to be interesting.
Calgary, Calgary's interesting too to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Like St. Louis, like Ottinger in Dallas, if he can
he's good
going the way he was, I can't wait for actually the season to start now that I'm thinking about it to see what happens here. 'Cause it's not an easy game. Like LA made some great moves. Calgary, I'm fascinated to see what that looks like when that's all said and done. It's and the Oilers. That's it's all about just staying healthy and getting to that right point in the season where everyone's firing on all cylinders.
Very exciting times. Very exciting times. That's going to do it for another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. I'm going to go have some cheese strings for lunch with my daughter. She just got home from kindergarten orientation, so that should be pretty good. Labor Day Monday, so just one episode next week, and then after that, it's time to crank it up a notch, banging out Monday and Thursday episodes. We work our way through September, trying to preview as many of these National Hockey League teams as we can. Boys, enjoy the rest of your week, all right?
Dusty, watch those Untold Stories on Netflix. The one with the ref that was betting on games. That is so good.
That's super interesting.
I haven't watched that one yet.
It's one of my favorites. Like, and I'm not going to spoil it, but I love the way they ended it. Oh, Gager. It's just the ending. It was fantastic.
So it's just so good.
And the Manti Te'o one, if you haven't watched that,
I did watch Manti Te'o. Yeah.
And you'll really like the rise and fall of And One.
I haven't watched that one yet.
It's
which one? Which one's that? The rise and fall of
And One, the sporting apparel.
Oh man, I used to roll And One gear all the time.
I still have my And One shoes. They're pristine white. They're perfect. So
man, they burst onto the scene. Yeah, they were great.
Yeah. But they go through the whole story. It's great. And for all the Marvel fans out there, She-Hulk is really good.
Boys, we can talk about that for a second. Cass, have you watched She-Hulk? Man, you got to watch She-Hulk. First 2 episodes of She-Hulk, unreal. Right, Gager?
Yeah, I heard mixed reviews, guys.
What? No way.
Dude, I
heard mixed reviews and like bad CGI and a whole bunch of stuff.
My son and I sat, we were like, whoa, She-Hulk, this is going to suck. It's no good. We sat down to watch it. At the end of the first episode, we looked at each other, had a smile on our face, and were like, that was pretty good.
Yeah. And the second episode was even better.
He's looking at me right now. He said, he was like, that was good.
Boys, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the first 2 episodes of the new Game of Thrones show, too.
I'm so pumped for
Which is pretty good. Yeah. When's that Lord of the Rings one drop?
Tomorrow night.
Was it tomorrow?
Oh, right away.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, I guess I got to go watch all Lord of the Rings to be ready. Talk to you guys never. See you later, boys.
All right, later.